Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey, good evening. It's Friday night, and it's going to be a good one. I think this weekend is going to be a fascinating one. We've got a lot of stuff that we've talked about for the last week, 2 weeks. For that matter, for the last year has been just incredible. So many things have been happening, all of it good. I have to say that there's been a couple changes in the last 48 hours that are going to be good or bad, but I don't think they're bad. I just want to say that there's been some changes. The Prime Minister, in this particular article, he's confirming that Iraq's progress towards major development and strategic projects and a productive economic partnership and/or partnerships with the region are on track, and they're going to be going forward. So the Prime Minister basically says is moving towards a major development in the strategic projects and productive economic partnerships. And who is he talking to? He's talking with a delegation of secretaries and governors of Arab capitals from around the region. The Secretary General of the Arab Cities Organization, his name was Abdul Raham Hisham Al-Asfour, and Al-Sudani welcomed the meeting, and he began with guests and their meetings with the community of Baghdad after a break that lasted for more than 3 decades. So the bottom line is that they've had some problems for 30 years. And they've had a break, but now they're stressing that Baghdad's permanent readiness and ability to host all of these guests, whether they're Arab brothers or just friends, is at the forefront. And so that's a big deal. 30 years of a break is important, because where's Iraq going? Iraq's going to be going into the international world, and they're looking to be taking their seat in the global financial system. That's what they're talking about. And above and beyond that, it trickles on down to the governance and to the cities, etc. He says that the Prime Minister affirmed, according to his statement, is that Iraq is moving towards major development strategic projects and a productive economic partnerships, noting that the government in Iraq has placed its top priority is the comprehensive improvement of Baghdad. So the capital is going to be big and rebuilt and or improved. And they go up to say that their successful experiences of late with their brothers and friends in the region, and they're, regarding all of the technologies and advanced methods that will be used for their urban development and service sectors. So that's going to take into consideration all their trading partners that are going to have employment from not only from the region, but from overseas. You've seen deals with Spain, you've seen the Eastern Europe, European Union, the trucking, the accession to the trucking. You see the WTO coming to the forefront. You see the ISCUTA system coming to the forefront. So you're going to see all these things, these electronic platforms are all coming to integration, and Al-Sudani is talking about major projects and developments. That's really, really fascinating, because ultimately it's going to bleed over to other regions. And interestingly enough, they do bring into the point that part of the region that's being under some major issues politically, militarily, and religiously, I guess, they're talking about establishing a fund to reconstruct the Gaza Strip after the cessation of this aggression that they're talking about, which is the initiative that's been launched by Iraq during the 2023 Cairo Peace Summit, which was held last October. Interesting why they say that they're having a peace summit last October, but it was greatly welcomed. So some of the time frames, they seem to be a little off. But the bottom line is the development road project is meant for progress and trade, and I really believe that that's what their focus is. Look, the development road project has different destinations, different extensions, and if it helps those in need, so be it. I think it could be a good thing for the future. All right. So anyway, that's one of the latest things that we've been talking about and what's been in the news, the interesting thing that happened and transpired today was that Biden, President of the United States, I should say, had an extraordinary meeting today. And one of the things they talked about, they nominated an American ambassador to Iraq. It says that Elena Romanowski is no longer going to be in her position from the sounds of it. It looks like that they've nominated Tracy Ann Jacobson for the position of as Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of the United States of America to the Republic of Iraq, right? Replacing Elena Romanowski. So Tracy Jacobson, she is the senior career member of the Diplomatic Service Career Ministry category. Most recently served as Charge d'Affaires of the U.S. Embassy in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. She's basically overcome, and during her period of time, she's been the U.S. ambassador on 3 occasions to Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, Kosovo, the deputy chief of mission at the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, Latvia. So we'll see how this turns out, but her credentials are fascinating, and the timing of her credentials and what she's done is also fascinating, especially when it comes to monetary reforms or supporting economic activity in countries. I think that the bottom line is that from her expertise and what she's done, not only for the economies and for the countries, she's won the medal for peace, democracy, and humanity. And so she's been decorated in that respect, and not unlike Sudani, he too is a humanitarian, and I think that's a good thing. So maybe they have a good fit. Maybe that's part of the reason. I think basically the timing of this event is interesting, but I'll also like to say that the timing of it is fascinating, and when she did her Turkmenistan ambassadorship, she basically got the country, or well, maybe she didn't do it on her own self, but during her watch, the growth in Turkmenistan was like 11%, which is pretty big during that time. And I think that was, she was leaving around the 2006, 2007 era, in which was the same time that just prior to, because of the nature of what she did in that 2006 to 2007 era, negated a move for currency reform in Turkmenistan, which they have a model that they other countries can use and may be using, as Iraq may be using as well. And one of the reasons why I'm invested is because of this Turkmenistan model, because it shows, and Iraq shows, that they've been following it. And I think that if you've been around long enough and you'll hear some of this stuff, you're going to connect the dots, even though it goes back in time to 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, is that the model worked, right? The only difference is today is that even though they're doing the same model, or they could be doing the same model, all the new systems are different. They're faster, they're more furious, they're more transparent, they're more calculated. They're a global thing. It's a blockchain type. These blockchain systems are communications. The communications between the ISCUTA system, the World Trade Organization, the Bank of International Settlements, the IMF, U.S. Treasury. All of those things come into play when it comes to this transition. The ISCUTA system, for instance, is all electronic with the borders. The Buna platform, currencies, Google it. You can see that J.P. Morgan Chase is involved in that. Remember, al-Sudani talked about being the savior of the economic circumstances of Iraq and the financial system. And who's involved in that? J.P. Morgan Chase is involved in that. and other banks, other countries' banks. I think there was Egypt, and there was many other countries that have implications in what Iraq is about to do. And we're going to see how this plays out. But basically, one of the things that was fascinating in the 2006, 2007, and then it's published in 2013, I believe, it says that introducing a new currency is a complex process, one that Turkmenistan completed. So this is a time frame where, is there any coincidence of what Iraq is doing and this new ambassador? Because ultimately she set the stage. Well, on her watch, the stage was set for Turkmenistan in 2008 to 2009 have a process, a complex process, which is to change the value of their currency, that was completed successfully. And so if Iraq is using this, it's going to be fascinating. This particular thing, if you go out and look for it, it says Jacobson served as Deputy Chief of Mission at the U.S. Embassy in Riga, Latvia, as the U.S. Ambassador to Turkmenistan in August of 2003 through July 2006. As the United States Ambassador to Tajikistan from August 26th until resigning from that position in 2009. So from that time frame, in both countries, she's about 600 miles away in her workplace from Turkmenistan and Tajikistan. So she would be in the West Asia region. She would have a good understanding of it, and her background, I think if you guys look it up, she has a very impressive record. Is four-time U.S. Ambassador, Chief of Mission, skilled in developing and leading diverse teams to achieve foreign policy success and build international relationships. Regional expertise in Africa, the Balkans, Central Asia, and the Baltics, experienced in promoting U.S. industries, U.S. interests in conflict and resolution, security cooperation, commercial advocacy, sustainable development. That's a key phrase right there, sustainable development. The UN's involved with the 2030 program that's all about, with Iraq and Vietnam and Zimbabwe and a few other countries, probably by 30 in total. They're talking about sustainable development. Okay, they also go on about good governance, human rights, which has medals for, a rule of law, all those things. Expertise in bilateral and multilateral diplomatic engagement. Well, what's that about? That's about negotiation. Isn't the bilateral and multilateral diplomatic engagements and with respect to the WTO? Actually, I think if you look at that, when you take that into consideration, is like, that's big. Organizational leadership. Well, isn't the organization of the World Trade Organization leadership part of that? Sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Professional development, international exchange programs. International exchange what? Goods and services, money, I don't know. Public speaking, okay. Senior subject matter expert in developing and implementing Department of Defense strategic and tactical exercises. Does that sound like somebody that's qualified to be able to handle the circumstance and maybe have a little different opinion of moving forward because of those expertises? I think it's pretty fascinating. So I hope Tracy Jacobson is welcome into Iraq, and I hope that the region embraces what the United States has done, and I hope that Iraq is ready to show their true colors. So if we go back to this finance development back in December 2013, it is, and this is my view, this may or may not be a model that's used for Iraq. I don't know for sure. But the bottom line is that December 13, volume 50, number 4, Ake Lomberg, you should look her up. She's got some her credentials are good. Basically stated that what I just said, introducing a new currency is a complex process to any country, let alone the Turkmenistan, who did what? They completed a process successfully. The interesting thing, I'm going to just go through some quotes because this is like 8 pages, and I'm just going to do some snippets because it's Friday. I won't keep you all. I published this report on Patreon in the forum, and Anybody that has a membership can come in and read the whole document, or you can do, as I did, is just do the research. The IMF has this and the links available so you guys can find it. It isn't anything new. Like I said, it's printed on the IMF site from 2013. But it says the total and orderly overhaul of Turkmenistan's currency system in 2008-2009 in many respects serves as a model for other countries. Okay, so she was there at 2006, Turkmenistan, 2007. The growth rate at that time for their country was at 11%. So basically, what I'm getting at is that the general public, the business community, and politicians may start pressing for currency reform and the introduction of a new currency. And that's basically coming from what some of the big decisions in this financial development program that they're talking about, which is this model. It says that at some point in time, you're going to see that there's going to be pressure from the general public, the business community, politicians may start pressing for currency reform and the introduction of a new currency. So you got to start thinking about, what has Iraq been doing? What has al-Sudani been doing? What did al-Alaq, the central bank governor, he told everybody that the process to delete the zeros for from the currency, or from the Delete the Zeros project still exists. That's all he's been saying, and it hasn't changed. And his advisors have talked about it and even more recently than July of last year. So the main ingredient in the successful introduction of a new currency is a strong commitment by the central bank, together with the government, to take the steps needed to ensure that a new currency is perceived as stable by companies, the general public, and the international community. Well, if you think about what was Davos about, why did they have that Baghdad International Fair here just a couple weeks ago? We know that they all were there for what? They're going to go international. What did they talk about? Iraq is going to restore confidence. We've talked about that numerous times. So here they're basically in this document stating that that's part of the process, setting the stage. So in this process of doing a complex project, like changing the value of the currency, right, is that they've talked about, what do? They talk about introduction of a new currency comprises so many different phases. I think there's 4 of them. They talk about the preparation, setting it up, the policies, procedures behind reform, and drafting detailed budgets. Well, isn't the detailed budget from Iraq, the 23, 24, 25 budget, a detailed budget? You notice that they haven't talked about the spending of the 2023 just yet, and it's a retroactive budget, but that's what this program is talking about. It says the same then comes production of a new currency, and finally the most challenging phase is implementation. But if we remember, we've talked about this before, as I note in my own records, is that the CBI in 2018 currency issue and expenses data. So in 2018, they have issuance of currency expenses, and they have it publicly. I've shown it before on our videos, so keep that in mind and go back through your records, go back and check it out and see what happens. But here again, in the part of this setting the stage, if you will, it's sometimes combined with exchange rate unification, which is to eliminate the complications of both an official exchange rate and an unofficial market rate. You've seen nothing but news about the parallel market. It's an illegal market. It's a black market. It's a so-called parallel market. And so they're talking about that. And what does it also make you feel like? It sounds familiar that they're talking about this, and they're only reporting it in 2013, but it was back in 2008, 2009 that this was part of an effect. So you got to go fast forward and go, wow, this does resonate with Iraq. So during 2006, 2007, Ambassador Jacobson era, she was there during this time frame. The economy was growing more than 11%. Inflation was in single digits, and fiscal and external balances were strong. So in 2006, 2007, just before she left, those were the things. The economy was growing more than 11%, inflation was in single digits, and fiscal external balances were strong. And so is there a coincidence that the ambassador being nominated. He's here in Iraq right now. I don't know. You guys be the judge, but it sure looks great. It goes on to say existing legislation, including the law establishing the central bank and regulation of banks and other financial institutions, they should be reviewed, ensure consistency with international best practices. Well, isn't that what they've been talking about? International standards and all these different banks, the correspondent banks, everything, the new platform, electronic platform, going to a commercial dinar in country. Okay, all of these things are examples that are in this this document. It goes on and says the information for campaign should encourage people to deposit their cash in accounts at the banks. Well, what have we been hearing for weeks on end? They've been opening bank accounts. They've been in the millions and the tens of thousands in a day sometimes. So what are they talking about? Well, we know that Al-Alaq says the project to delete the zeros still exists. Well, why would that be so important? Well, they're probably because when he said that back in July of 2023, they needed some time. What are they going to use? Are they going to use booklets illustrating the new banknotes to be distributed? We might. Did we not see an article the other day that talked about billboards? Okay, we're going to see if this how they roll it out. Every country is kind of different, but it's powerful. And here they're talking about lights, camera, action, but I won't get into that piece. And all I can say is that there's quite a few pages of documents that everybody should probably at least read it once. And so, I mean, if you own the currency, the Iraqi dinar, and you see this as a tool to make you feel a little bit better, because it did for me. And trust me, in 2013, I was here. And I still believe that I'm watching and seeing these things come true. In some cases, they redenominate to smaller notes, a 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50s, etc., 100. But also, guess what? Coins were issued. And at 1310, they don't have coins. All right? So we're going to watch this next phase of the currency reform and the conversion of old cash to new currency. That's part of their plan. Well, if plan follows that logic, and they're basically going to have to make announcements to publicly that the currency exchange must be made. And at some point in time, they're going to have to say something before too far long. Here's a gentleman today specifically addressing some of this stuff. But before I get to that, what I'd like to say, though, is that this model seems to fit many countries' circumstances. I mean, it includes the present-day Iraq. It says to me that what it shows is that the similarities that we're seeing take place, they now play a prominent role in what they're doing. It says it's not all that every specific item is being done necessarily. It's just that each country in the world will take into consideration what they need to do. So we're going to have to see what they do for Iraq here in the short term. But before Romanowski left office, or when she leaves, if that follows through, she has been praised for what? She praised the government of Iraq for increasing their bank accounts by 31%. It's kind of interesting that she brings this up and then all of a sudden she's leaving. So she boasts about it, about the banking side of things, how it's all good. And then now the new ambassador, having been successful in containing the economy, if you will, under her watch, whether that's all inclusive, you guys. I wasn't saying it's just her job, but the bottom line is that in Turkmenistan, during that currency exchange process, during that time frame, the stage was set while she was in office at that time. To me, that's important because she's definitely a person that would be influential in getting ambassadors and people to get the economy going, doing business deals, somewhat like the WTO. Who's involved in the WTO? Plenty of ambassadors around the world, right? Davos was full of plenty of ambassadors. So let's see how this all turns out. But again, Al-Alaq, He's basically not deviated from the deletion of the zeros project. And then today we see this gentleman by the name of Biha Saleh says on the citizens' confidence in banks, it is still fading. Okay, you have translation, but bottom line is it says, has the Central Bank of Iraq achieved sufficient reforms to raise the value of the dinar against the dollar? And says the price difference between the official and the parallel is still the same, and the citizens' confidence in the banks is still in place. And so I think what he's getting at here is talking to this 31% increase of the banks. People, yeah, having them in place, having 31% increase, all these bank accounts and stuff, and she's boasting about it the other day. And then all of a sudden we have this new ambassador showing up who has knows about economies, knows about or has experience probably, because obviously the Turkmenistan issue was after her position, but she went to a country that was fairly relatively neighboring, about 600 miles away, and finished that process and opened up venues for her to go to other places in the future. And now here we are, she's in Iraq. So let's see how all this plays out. Thank you guys for being here with me on a Friday. I think I'm very positive with what we're seeing and why all of these things coming together at this time. It's just like compact. They're just one thing after another. Seems to have a symbiotic relationship, and to Iraq's monetary reforms, financial reforms, banking reforms, and tax reforms, e-government, all of those things. So all of the reforms that they have in place are unbelievable, because look, a development program connecting the Silk Road to the Development Road Project all the way through into Europe is going to be a massive progress, and it's going to be a progression of progress, and Iraq is going to be part of that, facilitating all that trade. So let's gear up for WTO. Let's gear up for Iraq going international. And thank you everybody for being with me. Hey, so thank you everybody. If you like the content, please subscribe, hit that like button. And we have so many different little ways of help keeping the content going. We have Zelle, Venmo, PayPal. Thank you so much. It helps all the workers and the worker bees behind the scenes keep it all coming. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content. Subscribe to the channel or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much, and have a great day.